At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome back to the program best-selling author Brad O'Leary. He serves as president of ATI News, chairman of the board of PM Direct, and is a former president of the American Association of Political Consultants. He's also the publisher of the O'Leary Report. You can read that on his website at www.o'learyreport.com. And the author of the brand new book that we've been talking so much about here on the show, Shut Up, America, The End of Free Speech. Brad O'Leary, I thank you so much for being with us this morning. We do appreciate it, sir.
Well, I'm delighted to be with you. This is a real important subject for America because there are those that think it should be we the government, not we the people.
Indeed. And, Brad, I shared with the listeners yesterday the article that Joe published in WorldNet Daily about the private meeting that you and Joe and Roger Hitchcock put together with some of the leading talk show hosts in this country on this very thing in preparation for what looks like is going to be the new appointee to the Federal Communications Commission by the Obama administration. And should that person be appointed, it looks like that one of the first things that they are going to do is push hard to get Obama's technology agenda passed. And the object of this is to develop a strategy to combat this in Washington. How did that go?
Well, it went very well. It's difficult to get people to give up their Sundays since most of them work 6 days a week. Generally, even though everyone who came thought they had a microphone, they agreed pretty unanimously on an effort that should take place. The first thing was to go from a casual group just talking about it into a more formal coalition of all talk show hosts. And Roger will be sending letters out across the country to talk show hosts, asking them to join the coalition. And that places everybody in an opportunity to address hearings that Congress might have, either here or around the country. You become a group that can represent the industry as opposed to the owners representing it, or they're calling individually different people up to knock everybody off one at a time. So a unified effort to try to stop what's happening.
Well, and as usual, we are seeing out of Washington, Obama has said that he opposes the reinstatement of the fairness doctrine, but if you look at what this...
No, he didn't say that. He didn't say that.
That was erroneously reported, I take it as...
No, they press reported it that way. His exact statement was, I wouldn't urge Congress to work on the fairness doctrine right now.
Perhaps because he thinks that Julius Genachowski, if Julius is confirmed to the FCC, will accomplish for him what Congress doesn't need to then.
That's correct, because the FCC chairman has the power to do that. When Reagan overturned what was referred to as the fairness doctrine, it was his FCC chairman that did it. Congress was not involved. And Congress twice, after it was done, tried to reinstate it, and twice Reagan vetoed it, and once they tried to reinstate it under Bush, and Bush vetoed it.
And what they're doing, for those listeners that just joined us this morning, Brad, is under the so-called localism requirement, will basically subject radio programmers to review panels of community activists who will effectively decide what the content and format will be of radio stations across the country, and if owners balk on providing that programming that's recommended by those groups, they essentially can file a form with the FCC that says that the station is not complying and their license shouldn't be renewed. So essentially, it's even more restrictive than a fairness doctrine would be.
Right, and Congress has taken the position that a number of station owners need to go to put more diversity, more women, more Asians, more blacks, more Hispanics, and I guess more Muslims as owners of radio stations. And this chairman has said he intends to see that that happens. One of the ways is to change the renewal for a radio station from 8 years to 2 or 3 years. So every time your station comes up for a renewal, they can run some kind of circus with atheists, Muslims, acorn people, or whoever showing up for the hearings and turning them just into a nightmare. And costing the mom-and-pop radio stations as well a lot of money, so they in turn will just give up their radio station, and they'll be able to diversify who owns them.
And apparently last month, Senator Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois, submitted an amendment to the D.C. voting bill that would put this all in play, right?
Right.
And then, of all things, and I was really disappointed to see this, apparently Clear Channel Communications, that used to own this radio station, no longer does, but used to, basically has already decided we might as well fold the cards on the table because we're going to lose this, and are putting their own touch on this by developing these boards in the communities where they own radio stations. Am I reading that right?
You're reading it right, and it's probably worse than that, because they sent a memo out to 145 of the managers of stations saying, have your program director put these boards together. They've given them no instruction as to who should be on the boards and left it up to them to decide in every community who they want, and there's nothing to say that the FCC won't, after they do it, say your board is unbalanced. The FCC is having a meeting on diversity on May 7th, and the list of people that have been invited is crazy. It's none of the people who are involved in the radio show industry, none of the talk show hosts, none of the owners. It's all people being invited to say, okay, guys, we're going to cut up the pie here, and let's see who wants to own radio stations or help their friends get radio stations.
Now, Roger Hedgecock has joined with you and Joe Farah on this thing and Roger, I guess, is trying to put together kind of the Tea Party approach to protest this and develop a grassroots movement to subvert plans against this across the country. How is that progressing? Is that doing well?
Well, it just started. It just started on Sunday, and it's not necessarily Joe and I. We're helping him,
right?
But the group there agreed for Roger to be the head of the coalition, to have somebody to mail other people to get them to come on board and do what's necessary. And they agreed as a group that we shouldn't just talk about free speech for radio. We should talk about it for the Internet, which, as you know, is their new target, to create a czar for the Internet and take control of it, and also for newspapers, because all a bailout of newspapers would do